very much. And I will turn them off because I spend my life turning them on. And here is the introduction to Mithras. Yeah, the reason you can hear Chugga Wugga doing that is because the the actual stream is slightly behind, isn't it? All you hear is that him going in the background for a little while. Anyway, isn't that strange?
What, me going dun?
No. I have. On OBS, you get something that is when my titles are going. It says introduction, and I can see the sound going at intro. It's now called Lucas.
I'm spreading like a virus throughout your machine, mate.
Yeah, you are. You'll be terminated so shortly, I tell you. Anyway, hello.
You can't touch me, please.
And welcome. So here is what's happened so far in this adventure, which is aptly named the issues with caravans. The issue with caravans. So last adventure, after spending their experience and perfecting some skills, the party met in the Hairy Hobgoblin and was introduced to a group of merchants. And the group of merchants were somewhat concerned because a caravan which had left Ubbin Falls 1 month ago was now actually 2 weeks late into Lindo. Now, they had spoke to the town guard, but due to the recent assassination via crossbow bolt of the noble Macduff, the city guard were busy trying to decide what had gone on and who the body was, etc., etc. So the merchants decided to hire the wonderful group of adventurers you see before you. Lucas is actually on the trip because his mother is one of the people who has employed the party, and he's out there to almost like he's a little bit wet behind the ears, and he's out there to learn his trade, so to speak, as an adventurer. Anyway, the party set off on a wagon that was provided by the Merchant Guild and set off along the one road that travels between Lindo and Ubbin Falls. After several days of travelling, they came across a rather strange sight, which was a ransacked wagon. They approached it and were immediately attacked by wolves. Combat ensued, and they quite adeptly killed most of them off. However, they found some really interesting items and people, should we say, once the combat had finished. The first piece of information that they got was that the wagon had been stopped, shall we say, and Briggs, using his tracking the survival skills, figured out that some kind of branch had been put through the spokes of the front wheel and had actually broken the wheel and the axle and hence stopping the cart. They also found over in the river, a teenage lad, hiding there using a piece of bamboo as a snorkel. And they knew something was in there because that's where the wolves had initially been lurking. He came up and introduced himself. I don't know, I can't remember whether or not you know his name, guys, but his name...
Was it Benjamin?
It was Benjamin, or Ben, yeah. And the other thing that they found out was that the two other things, the caravan, one of the people travelling on the caravan had been dragged off into the forest, and there was quite a serious blood trail leading off into there. And the other thing they found was a small coffer, small chest that was open, and round about the coffer, all the grass had turned to grey, and blight had started to infest the grass area, and even inside the coffer there was mold, etc. And they also found at that point, and I think, guys, you can still probably see it.
Yeah, it's in handouts under the...
And I'll just show it on the screen now. They also found this strange note that seemed to be some kind of map that seemed to have two buildings in it. And I think some people with literacy skills actually managed to decode that it said 2 twin moon up at the top right hand corner. And that is where I think, gentlemen, we left it last week. Does that sound about correct? Yeah?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Okay, so just to let you know, I've set up a calendar now. I've had the calendar for a while, but I just want to introduce you to it. So we're actually in the 11th month of the year, which is called Neath, or Neth, Neth. And we're actually on the 23rd day of that month. There's 12 months in the year, just like our calendar. And just to let you know, Amriel, the one of the moons, is currently a new moon tonight at the end of the day, which means that it will not be visible in the sky. And Marroth, the other moon, the dark moon, would actually be a full moon, but because it's black, you don't actually see it either. So it's going to be a moonless night tonight. Okay, just to let you know, and I'll try to keep you up to date. There's 30 days in Neth, just to so you know. It's just, if you think about the months as the same days as our calendar, they just have different names for the months, but the days are the same. Okay, so that's where we are. I'm going to move you to I think it was this one. Yeah, hang on, I'll just move you along.
Going back on that, is it cold? Is it like frosty and stuff?
It's a good question. The actual continent you're on is quite near. Well, you don't know where it is. Your character doesn't know where it is in the world, but it's quite equatorial. It's not really hot, but it doesn't get really cold on the nights unless you travel further north in the continent of Odes, and then it does. Or you start to gain in altitude and start going up in the mountains. But currently, it's almost like if you imagine a spring, early autumn sort of like situation. So it's not freezing, but you would need a fire, you know, to keep you warm. Is everybody on the map?
I only see. I don't. Who don't I see? Oh, I do see everybody. Yes, it's just that they're further back.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm there.
Okay.
I didn't see Hengist or who do you call him? Dominic, but they're further back.
We're with the wagon.
Yeah. So I think at this point, I think the red line that I drew on that you should be able to see.
That's the blood trail.
That is correct. That is the blood trail. And the horse, the white horse is dead. and Bartleby, you've met Ben as he's come out of the water. So
I think we left it where we were just making a fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were just pitching camp.
oh,
I
cool.
invited him to join us and get warm.
Fantastic. Whereabouts would you like your fire to be?
Maybe somewhere there.
Yeah, near the water, unless that's like on a steep embankment, if you know what I mean. If the whole thing's fairly flat, then yeah. Don't want to be sleeping on the hill. You'll fall.
Sorry, just ping it again. Just ping it again. Okay. So I'm just putting that there for you because
Okay.
that's like a lantern, but it sort of like gives you the idea of the actual fire.
Gulliver's going to take off his backpack, and he's going to open it, and he's going to take out his cloak that he has in his backpack,
Yeah.
and he's going to use it to put it round Benjamin's shoulders to try to keep him warm, seeing he's just been in the
Yeah. He's
and he'll use his flint and steel to start a fire.
excellent. I'm just trying to find. I'm a bit quiet because I'm just trying to find a token for him at the moment. I'll find one. It'll probably end up being Owen or something like that. And you will like it. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, I know why. Let's just bring on... I think I might have a nice... yeah, carry on talking by all means while I'm doing this.
Okay, Briggs wants to go off into the woods and see if he can shoot any animals.
Right, yeah, I mean, there you go. There's,
Okay, there we go.
yeah, don't worry.
I saved a giant.
Yeah, I'll just make him slightly smaller. There you go. So he is there. So that could be Benjamin. Yeah. So yeah, you can head off into the forest, Briggs, and see whether or not you can rustle up some food. Remember it is quite dark, so you'll have to be a really good shot in the dark because remember you're all human. So you don't actually have any night vision or anything like that. But by all means, make a survival roll for me, and we'll see how good you are at shooting in the dark. Gulliver, do you want to move yourself over to the...
Yes, sorry, yeah, I was just waiting for you to put him on. So Gulliver's going to motion for Benjamin to come and sit next to the fire, and he's going to put his cloak round his shoulders.
Yeah. Okay, then. At this point, I'm just going to say that Dominic heads off as well into the forest to find some food and will not be coming back until next week. Just so you know.
So yeah, Angus will be at the fire, getting a brew up for everyone.
Yeah, and you can probably bring your wagon. Where would
Can I
you?
move the wagon?
Where
so
would
put
you
the
like-
wagon sort of there?
Yeah,
and then
that's cool.
picket the horse over there, sort of somewhere.
Lucas is kind of looking at the blood trail, see if there's any like scuff marks or drag marks. See if he can find out, see if he can see what has dragged off a body.
Yeah, so roll either a tracking skill or survival skill. If you don't have those skills, then just let me know which skill you would like to use, and I can.
I have perception and insight.
Okay, so insight is used exactly in D&D, so that's used to actually tell whether or not people are telling lies, etc. So yeah, so roll your perception, and it'll be like
Okay.
a formidable success that you'll need.
Okay, yeah, I felt that one.
Yeah. So yeah, you know that the body was sort of like dragged off in the direction of the forest. By what or by whom, you are not sure at all. But I think you do. I think you all remember that the horse had been attacked by wolves. Is that? Did I say that?
Yeah,
last time?
the horse showed that it had been attacked by
Yeah.
wolves.
So Briggs comes back after a while, sadly without any sort of like thing to roast over the fire. So it looks like it's just going to be wagon rations for tonight. It's getting quite late. You're snuggling up by the fire at the moment. There's unless you want to butcher up some of the horse.
I was about to say that we got a horse.
I was about thinking, how old was the horse? Like how dead is it? As in how long? How many
days?
days?
Could eat the horse. So we've got rations.
I
don't really want to eat horse.
You do actually
I
have.
agree.
You do have 2 months of rations, so you've got plenty of
We have
rations.
plenty of rations. Poor horse.
We're not talking about the live one.
When Briggs comes back to the fire, Gully's going to look over at him and goes, Did you find the other body, Briggs? Did you? Had that been eaten by wolves as well?
Hengist would have also just wordlessly greeted Briggs by just passing him a tin mug full of tea
Okay.
from the rations.
Bartleby, are you happy sat there or stood where you are at the moment, or are you moving closer to the fire, or what?
I wanted to move close to the fire and also see if I can apply my healing knowledge to see if there's anything we may have missed about Benjamin.
Yeah, cool, go for it. Roll the skill that you... Is it first aid, or are you doing healing?
I wanted to do healing if I could, but it's up to you.
He's really a lot in with 2 sides and hiding.
Healing's absolutely fine. You can roll that skill.
Oh, yeah.
You're not actually healing. You just... Oh, nice one. You should save that one for later. when you need to do a dex roll, that's what you need that one. So Benjamin looks absolutely fine. He looks a bit blue at the extremities, but he's warming up. He doesn't look like he's injured. He has no wolf bites on him or anything like that. He looks quite sturdy. He's not like a weak, feeble, sort of like teenage lad. He's quite substantial, and he's quite muscular as well.
Gulliver's going to do the introductions. He's going to say who people are around the fire, and then he's going to say, "Can you tell us what's happened here, Benjamin? If it's not too traumatic, because it looks like he was attacked by wolves."
But Benjamin looks rather sort of like concerned, as if he doesn't really want to relive it, and he sort of like looks rather hungrily at your rations that you have out. He's not shaking as much, and obviously he's warming up at the fire, but he still looks slightly concerned. And
Okay, we'll offer him some food.
oh, that's
We'll
nice.
share our resources with him.
Yeah.
If you don't want to talk about it, Benjamin, if we ask questions, would you answer questions?
He sort of like looks around, and he can see the wagon, he can see the dead horse over there. He probably can also see remnants of the blood trail, etc. He can also see, of course, the wolves that have had their heads chopped off and staked down the road. I think that's what Dominic did last time.
Yeah.
So I mean, he looks quite, although he looks substantial, he does look quite worried about things. And you roll an insight, Gulliver. Yeah, you probably think that he's probably not in a fit state to actually start to talk tonight. You know, he's obviously, I mean, he's had 2 wolves biting at his heels. I mean, he was literally hiding out in the river. And plus the general scene at the present moment in time is probably not the most conducive to actually encourage him to talk. You know, especially with the wolf's head still dripping fresh blood. I do also believe there's a wounded, knocked out wolf in your wagon.
Wasn't Dominic going to take that to train it to become his friend? Perhaps in the woods?
Well, he went off to buy food, to locate food, but he left the wolf in the wagon, mainly because it was knocked out. So I can't remember, guys, whether or not he tied it up in there. That's what I was
Pretty sure.
Yeah, so it is still in the wagon, because otherwise I don't think he would take it off with him, just in case he got attacked, because he would have to sort of like drop it somewhere. You know, it's quite safe in the wagon at the moment, but you know, it's quite a bloody scene round here at the moment. You know, and so probably as the journey continues tomorrow, you know, Benjamin might be more happier to talk.
Okay. Gulliver wants to. Gulliver, as people are sort of like chatting and doing things, Gulliver wants to go over and have a closer look at this. Have a closer look at the wagon.
Okay.
Is there any signs of belongings of anybody's? You know, is there like?
Okay then. Well, so you can head over to have a look at the wagon. Does anybody else wish to do anything while Gulliver nips over to the wagon?
Hengist will go as well, because he says to the party, there was one group of wolves, there might be others. Nobody go anywhere alone. And he's going to head over with Gulliver.
Okay.
Mainly just to keep an eye out.
As he goes past, I kind of Lucas whispers him to him, is like, they might have supplies that might be good for our journey.
We'll keep an eye out.
Briggs is gonna go to the wagon and make sure the wolf is tied up.
Okay, yeah, it's a good idea. Oh, drat! I was all ready. And Bartleby, is there anything you would like to do?
I'll also follow, go over to the wagon, kind of walking quietly behind him like a ghost.
Yeah. Okay. Move yourself up there. Okay then. So Gulliver, and just to let you know, guys, in Mithras there is an option. It's a bit like passive perception in D&D, but what it allows me to do is that I roll the dice. Okay, and I get a score, and then I ask you for your perceptions. Okay, so I can tell whether or not. So, due to the dice roll, one of you might have seen something the other person might not have. You might not have seen anything, but it allows me to give you that not too sure. You know, you don't know whether or not it's actually true or not what you're doing. So Gulliver and Hengist, you're sort of like looking over the cart. Okay, so Gulliver and Hengist, what are your perception rolls, please?
My Gulliver is 60.
60.
Oh, as in when you say perception roll, you mean the percentage?
Yeah, your skill, yeah.
19?
Oh, yeah, okay then.
I thought you said 19.
No, I said 19.
So you sort of like walk over together, and Hengist, you sort of like have a look round the wagon. You sort of like think it seems to have some stuff in it, but you figure it's probably something to do with some kind of workman stuff. You're not too sure, and the most interesting thing to you is the way the axle's been broken, and that looks quite strange, and you notice that several of the spokes of the wheels are actually broken as well. Gulliver, you notice that the wagon is full of what appears to be it looks like somebody's moving house, maybe, or transporting a load of. It doesn't look like trade goods. It looks more like, house goods.
Okay.
As if they're maybe going from A to B. Or so there's nothing that you think that they would actually sell in that there. It's more sort of like clothes. There is food and rations, of course. There's the odd chair. There seems to be the odd stool, the odd sort of like utility, things like pots and pans, etc.
As far as the clothing goes, is it all male clothing?
Well, is it something that you want to open up now and start spreading?
Yeah,
out
I didn't know whether or not it was sort of like strewn on the floor.
No, it's still.
Well, yes, he wants to open it up, and he wants to do two things. The first thing he wants to do is to find a change of clothes that will probably fit Benjamin, because he's still in his wet clothes from coming out of the water.
Okay.
And the second thing is he wants to try to get an idea of who the second person might have been, male, female. I mean, at the moment, Gulliver's assuming that it was a male, but it could have been Benjamin's mother who was.
Okay, so Hengers and Lucas. And Lucas, you notice Benjamin is giving Gulliver's quite strange looks now as Gulliver starts to open up the containers on the wagons and sort of like starts to rifle through the clothes and sort of like putting them out on the road, left, right, and sort of like thinking every now and again he's sort of like holding things up to himself to judge the size, etc. And he's sort of like going through them all. And it's at that point, Lucas, that Benjamin sort of like utters his first words, because he leans over to you and he says, "What's he doing?"
I'm thinking he's trying to find you better clothes than what you have on. You're still a bit wet, aren't you?
Yeah, you don't actually. You assume that because, of course, you don't know what Gulliver's actions are. And Gulliver, all the clothes that are in there are all male clothes. And when I say male, I'm talking about adult clothes. There's no female clothes, and there's no clothes that would be of a young lad at all.
I turn back to Lucas as like, do you want to help him out to, see what you need, like that?
Benjamin just sort of like pulls the blanket round him even closer and just sort of like goes and just shakes his head, and if anything he moves slightly further towards the fire. Briggs, the wolf is definitely tied up. It's definitely tied up. It's still unconscious. Do you have anything to do with animals, Briggs?
I have animal lure.
Yeah, that's a roll your animal lore. Yeah, so you figure it probably will survive. You don't think it's too damaged from internal bleeding or anything like that. It's definitely very firmly strapped up. Its legs, its four legs and its hind legs are sort of like roped together, and there's a rope sort of like round its muzzle to keep it from biting, and then those in turn are tied to the side of the wagon quite tightly, so it can't sort of like flop around in the back at all. It probably can defecate in there and past water, so you might want to make sure that there's nothing. Maybe not put the rations next to him. You know,
Right.
just just in case. You know, or somebody can carry it over their shoulders later on. Yes. Does anybody else want to do anything else?
I want to whisper to Briggs in front of me. Seems unnecessarily cruel to just keep it here as a trophy, doesn't it?
Briggs is just going to turn around and shrug. He's not going to speak. He's just going to shrug.
Finding no clothes suitable for Benjamin, Gully's going to go back toward the fire, and he's going to say, I was looking for some clothes so that you could get changed and get warmer, but I couldn't find any suitable in your size.
Benjamin just sort of like nods and sort of like keeps quiet. And Bartleby, is there anything else you would like to do with this wolf?
I suppose not.
Okay. So I presume you're setting up some kind of watch for the night to take it in turns throughout. So, I mean, there's probably about 6 hours, 7 hours before sunrise. So it's you can probably separate it up sort of like 2 hours each, and then you can rest. I presume somebody's going to be keeping an eye on Benjamin throughout the night, and he probably won't take a watch, you know. So that'll be covered. Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. So, and of course, it's a completely moonless sky, as both the Amriel, the moon is new, so it's not there, and despite Marroth being the full moon, of course, it's black, and so there's quite a spooky atmosphere throughout the night, since it's totally cloudless. But there's stars, but no moons inhabit the sky at all.
Is these fireflies, are they still flying around, are they?
Yeah, they sort of like fly around for the majority of the night, and there's also the odd cricket sound, you know, in the background as you go through the night, as you know. So there's normal sort of like everyday animal noises, you know, tweet-woo, you know, in the.
Briggs wants to try and find a empty glass jar or something and try and capture some of these firebugs.
Okay then, roll your survival skill.
Okay.
Okay, during Briggs's watch, one or two of you suddenly sort of like wake up slightly, and you sort of like open your eye, and you see Briggs sort of like with this little container. It's not glass. It seems to be some kind of metal tin, and he seems to be creeping up and going like that and trying to capture these fireflies in his little tin. And then you notice that he captures about 3 or 4, then puts the lid back onto it and sort of like seals it up, and he seems to be very happy with himself that he's managed to capture 3 or 4 of these fireflies in his tin. Okay, so
during Gulliver's watch, he wants to have a closer look at this note that we found in the coffer.
Yeah.
How big is it?
It's literally, if you can see my camera, it's literally that by that.
Okay.
And it was folded up, if you remember, into quarters.
Okay. Does it look like any part of it's been torn off?
No, it looks like...
Does it look like it's the whole thing, or does it look like maybe it's part of...
No, it looks exactly...
a bigger thing.
No, it looks exactly how it is. It's just one piece of parchment, and that was folded into quarters.
Okay.
Has Lucas been shown this piece of paper?
Yeah, everybody's seen it now.
And Lucas, because he comes from Lindo, and they thought it was a part of Lindo town, didn't they?
Yeah, it was where the plague started.
Yeah, I think both you and Bartleby, didn't you roll streetwise skills or something?
Yeah. So we worked out that it was part of the slums of Lindo, where the original plague, where we went concerning a few adventures back.
Okay, so it should be light now.
Yeah.
Is it light?
Yeah.
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 So
It is.
morning arrives, and there's a slight buzz of flies around the dead bodies. The blood has stopped dripping from the wolves' heads. It's sort of like congealed. But of course, there's quite a few flies now flying around that, laying their larvae or their eggs into, pretty soon you figure they're going to be quite maggot infested, as probably is the dead horse. Your horse is eating the grass. It's been down to the river and taken a drink of the water. And Benjamin is dried out, and you sort of like sit around having your morning rations before you decide what you would like to do. So straight after breakfast, say, what is the plan, gentlemen?
As we're talking around the fire, Gulliver's going to suggest that we move the wagon off the road, and maybe try to get the dead horse off the road as well, at least so that the road's clear in between Lindo and Ubbin Falls,
And any of the wolf bodies that we left on there.
Well, you could talk among your party. You know what I mean? I'm quite happy for you to talk what you want to do. So, is the idea that you're going to remove the horse?
I think the horse on the road needs to be moved so that it's so that the road's clear.
I agree with Gulliver.
It does sound like a good idea.
Okay.
And we're not taking the wolf with us.
I beg
Because
you.
it's cruel.
It seemed cruel to just tie it up by its legs and its face and not feed it after it's starving enough to want to consume all of us.
That
And
is true.
not only that, it's going to frighten our horse as well.
Yeah. our horse
There's
like
going to
it.
be that
Benjamin
smell
won't
of
like
that
it.
wolf in the back, and we've got nothing to feed it unless we butcher the other horse to feed it. So I think the and not only that, he
Seems
was
that
after Jasmine, so I'm going to get my own back by letting his wolf go.
You're just gonna let it go, or are you gonna kill it and then?
Well, it's unconscious at the moment, so
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
let's just move it into the forest
Right.
and then untie it, and then when it comes round, it'll probably just go. The horse is there if it needs to eat, and then that's what I think we should do anyway.
Got to keep that precious rope as well.
Yeah.
Okay then. So the idea is that you're going to release the precious wolf out into.
But if Dominic says anything, we just say he escaped. Okay. he won't know.
Okay.
maybe the wolf will find him in the woods, and they'll connect on a spiritual level.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe.
We'll say that we released it to go and find him.
Be his spirit animal.
Yeah, quite possibly. Okay, that's absolutely fine. So you can let it loose. And
Whilst we're doing that, when Gully's close to Briggs, Gully's going to say to him, "Briggs, did you find the other body? When you went out into the woods looking for it, did you find it?"
Briggs is just going to shake his head no.
Do you think the wolves carried it away?
He's going to nod as yeah, maybe.
I'm just going to move you onto the daytime picture. You got it?
I guess I'd like to start moving as much debris as I can, since I'm not a strong priest.
Yeah. So
How big was this coffer that the
mold was in?
the note was in? Yeah,
Okay, if you're looking about
Yeah.
that long
yeah,
and about that high
yeah. Okay,
and about that deep.
okay. Does it? I don't have any skill to, but does it look well made, or is it sort of like metal bound, or
Is it fancy looking?
Do you have a commerce skill or?
I do indeed.
I got a fumble last session with
Yeah, so
commerce. I didn't know what to do with that.
so you just tick it. There's an exclamation mark by all skills. There's a little box with you click that to put a tick in it, and
I
then
did.
once the adventure's finished and we're doing experience rolls, you automatically get 1% increase in that no matter what. So if you fumble in anything, it's sort of like because you made such a hash of it, you automatically improve, and then you can improve it further later.
Gulliver's going to pick this coffer up anyway and put it in the back, but when he's carrying it to the back, he just wants to see, how well made it is.
Yeah, remember, you probably know what each other, if you want to disclose that, what each other is sort of like proficient in. So I mean, if it's a sort of thing that rather than sort of like saying, you probably know Dominic and Briggs, you probably both know that you are proficient in, survival and tracking. So it is a case that there will be at times that you can actually you can sort of like team roll. So what that means is that if you want to sort of like combine your skills, then what you actually do is that you let me just read this. I would roll the skill like I did for the perception, and with both your skills added, and then I can tell you which one's done it and which one hasn't. So there is the option of doing that if need be.
I mean, Gully has a pretty good eye for judging the value of items, especially from when he was living on the streets, and he was working with Handy Jack almost as a small time fence.
Yeah, so go for it.
But you hopefully you'll get a bit of an idea.
Yeah, you think it's quite expensive.
Okay, so he's going to put that in the back of the wagon with the other with our possessions that we have.
Okay.
Wasn't this the coffer that had the virus or infection
Say again, Si.
on it? Wasn't this the coffer that had the infection? Like it looked mouldy and
It did, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the same one that had the
note
note in.
Briggs wants to ask Ben. He's going to turn around and say, Where were you going?
Right. So how we're going to play this, guys, just to let you know, I think it'd be good that rather than staying here, that we move the adventure on a bit. So if people get onto the wagon or decide where they're going to stand, and then we can move, we can start traveling, and then during that time you can ask Ben the questions. And the reason I say that, where do you want Ben?
Probably in the back with
Yeah.
the
Okay.
other people.
The only reason I'm saying that is that I don't think he's going to be quite happy talking to you in the situation that, that obviously something quite traumatic happened, so, did you take the wolf heads down or not?
No, those are left up.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, he probably doesn't want to be reminded about being in is hiding in the river with two wolves attacking him. Lucas, you're obviously doing the drive skill there.
Yeah.
So you don't need to roll your skill to actually drive the wagon all the time. You only need to roll it when something happens. So if there's something bad happens, then I would ask you to roll it. Okay, guys. Yeah.
Every now and again, Gully's going to ask Lucas whether or not he can drive.
Lucas kind of looks at me and is like, maybe. I think I'm going in the right direction.
Okay, so how we're going to play this? You can ask Benjamin any questions that you wish. If anybody wishes to insight him, you can do as well. But try not to ask the same questions over and over and over again.
When the questions are happening, Gully's going to sort of like spin around and put his feet over the other way, so he's actually facing backwards.
Yeah.
And he's going to keep a close eye on Benjamin as people ask questions, just to get an idea of his body language, etc.
Okay, cool. Go for it. Would anybody like to ask Benjamin anything? Sorry, Briggs, I think you asked him something before I changed the pace.
Yeah, so where he was going.
Oh, yeah. So Benjamin's sort of like, he seems to be quite a robust person. And he's obviously been quite shocked by what's been happening. And he sort of like, when Briggs says, where were you going? He sort of like says, I was going to Lindo. As he says, as he looks down towards Lindo, because you're now.
Gully's going to say, were you travelling from Ubbin Falls, Benjamin? Is that where you'd come from?
He looks at you and says, "No."
Where had you come from? I didn't think there was any other towns in between Lindo and Ubbin Falls.
He sort of like, he points over in this direction. If you saw me pinging there.
Yeah.
And he says, from our house in the forest.
Had you only just set off then?
Only just set off.
Yeah. Was your house close to where your wagon?
Lucas kind of goes, so how long have you been travelling? Oh.
He says, it wasn't my wagon.
I was going to ask him that.
So were you walking to Lindo on your own?
Yeah. And this kind guy, this old man, offered me a lift. I don't think he's alive anymore.
Did you catch the old man's name?
Bert.
Bert.
Yeah.
Where was he from?
He was from his farm.
Was his farm close to here, was it?
He didn't say, but he said things weren't going well. He said that the land had turned rotten, I think he said, and his crops weren't growing anymore. And so he was heading to Lindo.
Did the wolves attack when the wagon got into difficulty?
When he was trying to fix the wheel.
That's when the wolves attacked.
Yeah.
What happened to the wheel? It was pretty banged up.
I don't know. All of a sudden we stopped and the wheel collapsed and the whole wagon went over to one side and the horse got loose. And
Have you met anybody else on the road to Lindo
No,
apart from us?
no.
Briggs ain't gonna say this out loud, but he knows for a fact that the wagon had something shoved through the wheel. Is that correct?
That's what it looked like.
Oh, okay. So it couldn't. It might not have been that.
You never know.
Okay.
During all this time, Gully looking at Benjamin, does it look like he's telling the truth of what he's been saying?
You can roll an insight roll. Has somebody got a TV or something on in the background?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Cheers. Yeah, no, he looks like he's telling the truth completely.
I'd turn back. So why were you walking to Lindo on your own?
To seek my fortune. I want to be.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be part of the guards.
Oh, you want to join up, do you?
Yeah.
I hear. Be a part of the royal guards doing the protecting all the important people.
My mum says it's time for me to start earning my way and to get a proper upbringing and make something of my life. And so I'm going to join the guards.
When Hengist hears that, he's gonna he's been sort of like half listening, sort of like not meditating, but sort of like just like half asleep, half listening. He's going to like semi come round. He's going to look, he's going to look the boy up and down, and he wants to make a judgment in his head if he thinks that the boy has anything in him to become a soldier, like from how he looks and that sort of thing. If see if he's tough enough, just because he's got like a background in that sort of thing.
Yeah, okay, roll your skill.
Let's see, what skill would I be?
Looking at little boys.
I don't have skills at looking at little boys, mate.
That's only in training.
So in which case it'll just be like a normal perception roll.
Yeah. No
I mean,
idea.
I mean, he it's like what I've said before. I mean, I think Bartleby noticed before. Well, I think everybody did. He's quite. He doesn't look like he spent his life picking herbs, depending where you come from. You know, he looks quite tough. I think the word I used earlier. I mean, he looks like he's got quite a healthy constitution. You know, he doesn't look like he's not fat. He's muscular.
Well built for a lad.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he spent his time sat in a room reading books. He's
Maybe
obviously
working on a farm or something.
Yeah, like previously mentioned.
Can I ask, Benjamin, are you skilled in any form of weaponry?
I can use an axe. I often used to chop wood and practice chucking it.
That's the start.
And I can skin a rabbit.
How quickly, Benjamin?
Oh. My mum says I can do it quite well.
I wasn't asking about well, though, Benjamin.
I don't know how quick.
That's unfortunate, because we have a hunter within our party already who is quite proficient at such, I believe.
I was going to the guards, he says, pointing back on the road that you're going. He says, "Can you take me there?"
I
Gulliver's
believe
going to go. No, we're not heading in that direction. We've just come from there. We're heading to Ubbin Falls. We're looking for a caravan. I don't suppose you've seen a caravan on another caravan on your travels. Maybe 5 or 6 caravans altogether.
He turns around. He says, "I forget who said it." So he points to the person who asked the question and said, "No, I haven't seen anyone." He asked that. Do you think you can take me to Lindo?
Well, we're going back to Lindo in a few weeks' time. Once we've found what we're looking for, you're welcome to tag along with us.
Oh.
We can teach you bits and pieces about weapon craft. We will use different weapons in the evenings and that sort of thing.
All right.
If you wish, or
I just don't want to go home. I thought
We can drop you. We can drop you off so you can make your way there if you really want. But as you've seen, the roads can be quite dangerous.
Oh yeah. He says,
Why not go back?
because I need to earn my keep. I need to become a guard. I need to
It's a good
start
job.
having a living. Can't stay with me mum all the time.
Sounds familiar. It's like Lucas kind of.
Yeah. Lucas,
it's like-
yeah.
I completely know the way that you are, the bind that you're in. My family too wants me to be out of their hair, and so here I am
He
in
sort
this
of-
bind.
He sort of looks at you and says, "Oh," he says, maybe we can be friends."
Maybe we can work something out together. Maybe if my family is quite into trade, and they could always do with guards, for caravans.
Oh, he says, I could do that. I could do that.
Maybe it'd be good to have your strapping axe hand for help.
Yeah, he says, I can do that. I can cut wood, and I can find herbs. Guys, just as you're going up on the path, you notice to the right. So remember, on this side, there's there's that bit of grass, and then it goes into the forest. And on the left-hand side, or the west, as you're travelling north, you can see the river. And then over the other side of the river, there's not mountains, but sort of like hills. But you do notice that coming up on the left-hand side, on the west as you travel north, there appears to be quite a sturdy and wide wooden bridge that crosses the river. And then there's a small pathway, a trail, a track that sort of like curves off into the sort of like the hills.
And that's on our left.
Yeah.
Gulliver's going to motion to Lucas to stop the cart. He's going to say, stop the cart, Lucas.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can stop the cart. Yeah.
Briggs wants to ask about the coffle. Why was it so far from the thing? So he's going to turn around and say, "The box.
who moved it?
He sort of like looks at you and says, he looks at you, Bartley, and he says, I can't understand what he says.
Briggs is just gonna shut up and look at his feet.
Yeah, so
Angus
the
will
wagon
translate.
the wagon has stopped.
Gulliver's going to jump down, and as he jumps down, he's going to turn to Briggs, and he's going, Briggs, come with me, and he's going to start heading off over towards the bridge.
Yeah, okay, so it'll take you about it's off in the distance, so it'll take you about.
Oh, sorry, I thought we had just come up to it.
No, I said you could just see
We'll
it.
wait until
in
we
the
get closer to it then.
All right, so you're stopping at the bridge.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then so you continue up, and then Lucas pulls up the wagon next to the bridge, so you can all see the wooden bridge going off to the west.
Lucas gets off and looks like wipes down the horse and gives it a bit of oats and
Yeah,
Angus will also get out the back, and he'll just sort of like be wandering up and down, keeping an eye out on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on everyone.
Gulliver's going to ask Briggs whether or not he could tell whether or not the wagon came from over the bridge.
Yeah, Briggs, you can make a tracking roll, but really and truly it's wooden, and there's not a lot, and there seems to be quite a lot of tracks coming off in this direction. But you can make a tracking roll.
Lucas, like as he's wiping down the horse, he like elevates his voice so Benjamin can hear him. He's like, when did you get onto the other wagon? Was it here, further up, further down?
He says, past the bridge.
Past the bridge.
Past the bridge.
How far?
Quite a way.
Quite a way. Oh, okay. Thank you. Carries on.
Point and look to swap the numbers.
Might be worth it.
Might be worth it. Ben sort of like leans closer to you, Bartleby, and says, "What do you do?
What do you mean, what do I do, Benjamin?
Are you a guard?"
I'm not a guard. I've been sent along to help them. It's part of a quest of redemption, Bartleby.
Oh, he says, "Are you like a religious person?"
You could say that.
He says, I don't tend to believe in such things, but my mum does. My mum is, she believes a lot. She believes a lot in things.
Briggs wants to turn to Gully, and he's gonna say, well, he's gonna say quietly, don't like him.
Gulliver's just going to pat Briggs on the back and head back to the back to the wagon.
My mum, my mum worships, or gives offerings to Lugonia. Do you know Lugonia?
Could I roll devotion to see if I know?
Yeah, by all means.
Oh, yeah. See how devoted I am to knowing everybody's name.
You do know. I'm using the skill to see how much information you know, because obviously you would be well versed in the different religions, via your upbringing. So Lugonia is the nature goddess who's really in tune with the plants, almost like the arboreal nature. So their followers tend to be more astute or aligned to plants. A lot of them become herbalists, or live in the forest. There is Some of them do follow the feral god, which is Tabris, but they sometimes they work together. But they most the thesis of Lugonia tend to be quite passive and almost like live in solitude and things like that.
I'll say to Benjamin then, your mother must be wise. The gods, all of the gods, are angry at us, and they deserve our sacrifices to ease their hatred.
At the word of sacrifice, he looks quite... He says, were the wolves sacrificed?
Something like that.
Oh.
Gulliver's, when he gets back up to the wagon, he's going to go. But perhaps we should make a bit of a detour and see where this path goes to, because we're heading in the wrong direction for Benjamin, and it might be an inn or something like that, which he can then find passage in the way that he's going back, so he can get to Lindo.
I'll turn to Benjamin. Benjamin, do you know what's up this road? If there's anything around here?
He sort of like looks over the bridge and sort of like says, "That's mostly to homesteads and farms, and where people grow crops and stuff."
Are they quite close? The nearest little homestead?
He says, I don't really cross the river.
Okay.
Is there a reason you don't cross the river, Benjamin?
Only because my mom told me not to.
Fair enough.
You never know. You never know what's on the opposite side of the river. And I live in the forest.
I see.
So we have a choice. We can either push on towards our mission, or try and find a pub to stop over. If we go the other way, we don't know which one has a closest.
Can I roll? Can I roll like locale or history or something to know what's around here?
Yeah, locale do it. Yeah, and again, I'll just see what role you get, and then I'll tell you the amount of details. So yes, you do know that, if you remember, this path leads up to Ubbin Falls. You do know that on the west side over the river there is some hills, and beyond those hills there are flat areas of arable farm that often produce things like fruit and it's not like wheat or anything like that. It's not extensive farming like that. It's more like fruit and vegetables and that sort of like produce that is brought to Lindo.
Hengist is going to say, I'm quite keen to get on to Ubbin Falls. As some of you know, I'm using this as a quick bit of money to help me find my sister who's been kidnapped. So I'm quite keen to get on with this.
I don't think we have much choice, Hengist, because there's only one road. We can't go to the homesteads because those are over hills. So we'll just have to keep going to Ubbin Falls, and we'll have to drop Benjamin off there, and he'll have to find passage back to Lindo.
Or wait until we go back to Lindo ourselves.
I didn't think we were going to Ubbin Falls. We were going like halfway there, weren't we, my friends?
I think we're already halfway there.
No, you're not yet.
We're a few weeks in, aren't we?
Your job is to locate, to find out what's happened to the caravan, and secondly to see what's happened to the produce. All right, so you might find a caravan, and that's all well and good, but it's also what's happened to the goods, because Bartleby, for a fact that's quite a lot of money. I think you actually worked it out in the last adventure.
Yeah, I got an estimate of 5,000 to 15,000 silver pieces.
Yeah.
Damn. But the caravan left Ubbin Falls, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It left.
So-
It left Ubbin Falls. It should have taken a month to get here, and it was 2 weeks overdue before they did something. So if you think about it, since it's left Ubbin Falls, it's been 6 weeks.
Right.
Well,
So
longer than that because we've
it's
been on the
best
road
to
for a
go
couple of
to
weeks.
Ubbin Falls and find out about.
Yeah.
Go to the
It-
source and then work.
It
back.
depends
Try to see.
what we see on our way up there. If we don't see anything or any evidence, then we'll hit Ubbin Falls and then we can ask around.
Gotcha.
If
Well,
we
yeah.
do, then we can investigate and
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then.
Yeah.
So are you heading on
We're,
northwards?
we're
yeah?
going to continue heading down the path towards Ubbin
Okay,
Falls.
so you travel for another couple of days, and it's at the almost like through your third day from this point that you notice something quite unusual. You notice that on the pathway, sort of like here, I'll just show you on your map here, there seems to be a huge amount of tracks coming from the road. I'll draw them on for you so you can actually see what you're sort of like see. They seem to be sort of like all coming off like that and heading into the forest. And you can see that there's it's almost as if part of the forest has been widened, maybe with axes or something like that, but it's quite obvious that quite a substantial caravan has left the road here. So you've actually got to the part that where it's actually left the road. And the reason you can see it is not because of tracks on the road, it's because of tracks on the actual grass.
If no one's like noticed this, because Briggs is on the back, he won't notice it until like the vehicle's got up to about
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
I probably would have been me and so who's that with me?
That's
On
Gulliver.
Hopefully.
We probably would have seen it first, and the moment we see it is like we just sort of nudge each other. It's like, oh, look at this. It's like,
And Gulliver immediately goes, "This tracks going into the woods."
yeah. And I stopped the whatever we're on, the wagon.
Cool.
Briggs is immediately going to jump off and go and explore these tracks. He's going to get down and have a look, see if it's like just a couple of wagons going in and out of one direction.
Yeah, so roll your tracking skill. Yeah, so what it looks like it did was that it looks like the caravan or the series of wagons were travelling two abreast down the main road, and it seemed at this point that they started to come off the road and then almost like go into the wood in single file. And you notice that some of the low branches have been sort of like knocked off as it's almost like forced its way through. And all the ground is sort of like muddy and sort of like there's quite deep ruts in it. And they seem to head off into the caravan, into the wood. Just make a perception roll, Briggs. I'm just going to move you,
Okay.
and then
Being a part of the merchant family, would I have known of certain stop areas on the journey that a large caravan might stop at?
if it does stop, they stop by the roadside. They would never
Okay.
go into the wood. Oh, look at that, Briggs. Once critical. Okay. You can see off in the distance in the wood what appears to be quite a large fire burning, and you're not too sure, but there seems to be tents set up as well.
Okay, Briggs is gonna wave, like just motion everyone to come and look. So he's gonna wave them over and then
Gulliver's
Point
going to
with-
wave
point-
back.
point, like wave them to him, and then point with his bow in the direction of the fire.
Hengist will have gone over.
You can't, Hengist, you can't actually see what Briggs is pointing out at.
So he's going to come up right behind Briggs, so it's like just behind his right shoulder, and go, "What do you see, Briggs? I don't see anything."
Briggs is literally gonna like point with his bow. Is there like a glow coming through the woods or something?
You can see it. It's quite a way off, but Hengist doesn't have the best eyesight around in any case. He's more sort of like close quarter combat sort of like
Okay,
guy.
so he's gonna turn around and go fire.
Where? How far away?
He's gonna
You
tell him.
figure it's about a 20-minute walk into the forest.
20-minute walk. Okay. So
Do you know when we left the other where the other caravan had been, where the axle had come off the other caravan?
The wagon.
Yeah, sorry, the wagon. Before we left, did Benjamin retrieve anything from, a backpack or anything?
No, he just seems to have the clothes that he was wearing. He does have a small belt pouch that seems to have some berries and nuts in.
But no. But no, he doesn't have. He didn't have a cudgel. He didn't have an axe. He didn't have a cloak.
He didn't have
He didn't
any.
have-
No, he didn't have any weapons or armor or
And,
any.
and if I remember rightly, we had been travelling for about a week, so he
Correct.
was at least
It was a week out of.
maybe probably a bit more because he was walking rather than travelling on
Yeah.
wagon. Right, okay.
Hengist, so having Briggs describe this to him, Hengist is going to go, "I think we need to go down here, guys." He's going to call back to the wagon.
Shall
and
we?
Gully's
Take
going
the
to say okay, and he's going to get the reins of the horse.
I was actually going to walk the horse in rather than.
Go, yeah, that's a better idea,
And
Lucas.
after watching Lucas for a bit, he's going to give it a little tap on the reins, and he's going to try to turn the horse towards the.
Lucas
yeah.
is in the process of trying to grab the bridle to walk the horse in, and he does that, and he's like, "Whoa!" to one side, and then a bit further.
Okay, so hang on. I'm just putting your characters together so I can cut and paste you over onto the next map. But don't worry, I'm not going to position you or anything like that. You'll have an option to actually position yourselves once you get close. Okay, so it's a bit of a swap round. But you're actually still traveling east, but you're going to come up from the bottom of the next map. Okay, and you managed to bring the wagon. So the wagon is not on this map; it's slightly off the map. Okay, so imagine that it's just right the way down beside you. But after a while, you sort of like get closer and closer, and you all see this burning fire. And there seems to be a series of tents set up. Now, can I just say, where you are at the moment, you are going to be far enough away that you can see what's in front of you, but it'll take you like one movement to get into it.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everyone? So
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
assuming that you're walking in. I just want to put you on the map so you can see what you can see. Yeah.
Have we left the
technically-
wagon a bit back then?
So the wagon and you are like one action point of
Right,
movement
okay, right,
away.
I'm with you,
You know,
yeah.
but it's just so you can actually see. So you're actually on the map, and I can show you. So in the middle, there seems to be. It's quite. It's not dark in here. It's canopy dark, as I call it. But you can see that there's a massive fire burning. It's not burning like in the picture. It's quite sort of like ember-like at the moment, but it's still letting off quite a big glow. You can see that there's quite a few tents have been set up, and there's a huge amount of wood actually piled up on the fire. You also can see via the ground that there seems to be some well-worn tracks. Does that make sense, what I'm saying there? You know, things like
Yes, churn up.
this. Can you see how it looks like things like this looks like a well-worn track, and that does, and this does, yeah?
So more than just that's them setting up camp. It's going to have been there for longer type thing.
What I wanted to say, I wasn't going to say that. What I was going to say is that it actually does look like the map. It actually does look like the map. There's a huge amount of tents, as you can see. And as you can probably see as well, there's also some various dead bodies, depending where you are and where your light allows you to see. You can see various dead bodies. I think most of you can see that one, but I think some of you can see other ones depending where you are. The light is, when it looks black behind it, it's because the tents are blocking the light from in different places. The tents are, you can tell the tents are open. If you look around, you can see that some of the tents are open, and that's exactly how they are. Well, other tents are, so I think Bartleby, you can see this tent, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That is shut. Well, this tent, if anybody can see what I'm pointing at, well, if you see a tent like this, that is slightly open. Okay. And we are going to stop for our first break there before you venture in to the circle or the campsite. So guys, we're going to take a 10-minute break. So please go off, grab a drink, grab something to eat, a snack if you wish, and we will be back in 10 minutes. So please do come back and see what happens to the party as they go into the strange caravan campsite. Okay, we will see you in 10 minutes. Let me just press start. Ha ha!